You're this perp back with another video, and I just got done watching episode 2 of season 3 of Stranger Things. Like I said in my last video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new. Follow me on Twitter at perpminded. And I don't want to waste too much time, but I'm gonna have a playlist when I get a little bit more episodes out that y'all can click in the link in the description below. But with all that being said, let's get right into this. So yes, Billy is alive, but he is definitely not the same. Something really fucked up happened to him, and they show that within this episode, throughout this episode I should say. We've got Elle and Mike kind of going through some type of situation, like whatever Hobbs said to Mike kind of spooked him a little bit, and he's kind of distancing himself from Elle. And Hobbs just got the biggest smile on his face, but he doesn't really realize what he has done, and I'll get to that a little bit later. So he goes to tell Joyce the good news and tries to invite her to dinner again, because the first time it seemed like she was pretty much kind of ducking Hobbs, but I'll get into that a little bit later. So then we get to Nancy, and she's trying to get this case, and she knows she can't do it by just asking her boss, so she takes Jonathan with her to go investigate what's going on with this rat disease. Meanwhile, Dustin finds Steve, and they kind of go back and forth, and he kind of tells him how the guys pretty much ditched him. And it's really cool to see them kind of connect and see that Dustin still has a friend, which is Steve, because Steve in himself is kind of a man-child. It's kind of starting to show. He's working at this job, but Dustin needs his help anyways to translate this Russian language. Back to Elle, she approaches Max and tries to ask Max for advice, like what's going on with Mike, why is he avoiding me? And Max does the typical girls at that age, and tells her not to worry about him, just do you, have fun with your life. And they go off to do something, and I'll get to that very shortly. So now we got Mrs. Wheeler, Mike's mom, that tries to hook up with Billy in the first season, but he never showed up to the date or to the hotel, and she was getting ready to cheat on her husband. And I'm kind of glad that she went to pretty much approach Billy about not doing that. And Billy, whatever's going on with Billy is really fucked up. He looks really strung out, like he's sensitive to light, and I don't really know what's going on with him right now, but it's very interesting. So back at Steve's job, they're trying to figure out a mystery. Then Robin marches in, and she's a new character, really interesting, and she gets really into this, and she can kind of help them figure out this message. It's going to be really interesting to see her character throughout this season too. So Nancy and John pull up to this old lady's house, and you could tell that Nancy really wants to get to the bottom of this, and hopefully it will be a big break for them both, or they'll probably just lose their jobs. But there's a lot of weird stuff going on in this house. They even and the old lady actually catches one of these rats, and it's just going crazy in this cage. But I'll get to that very shortly. So Hopper gets called in by the mayor, and you just see how much of a scumbag this guy is. And I think he's gonna be kind of like a secondary villain or antagonist. We just gotta wait and see. So Max and Eleven show up at the mall, and she gives this pretty nice speech like, you gotta go find your own personality, you gotta find your look. And I really like that, and I like that you really get to see them grow up in this season. Like they're maturing, and it's really dope to see that. It makes for good character development. But you know, Joyce is out there doing her own thing, trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, because she had some magnets not sticking and whatnot, and you know, she's just trying to figure it out, while you know, at the same time, Nancy's trying to get to the bottom of this. John's down in the basement taking pictures, and he's checking out the rat or whatever, and the rat's starting to go crazy. And what they showed off in the first episode of these rats just exploding, and it's just really weird, and just, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get an explanation for this very soon. We get kind of a flash to Billy, and he's talking to himself, or he thinks he's talking to himself, but it must be whatever's controlling his mind is talking to him, and he's going in and out of it, and you feel bad for him kind of. But you know, back at the mall, Mike's trying to find a gift for 11 to make up to pretty much make up for what he's been doing, kind of lying to her, you know. And Max and 11 are sitting there just doing girl things. Like I said, it's really cool to see these kids they started off as kids grow up into teenagers, and you just see everything that they're going through. Like, you know, when they finally run into each other, 11 is kind of upset with Mike, and you know, ends up breaking up with Mike. And it's kind of a funny way, but it's kind of fucked up, you know, and I don't think 11 knows that. And you know, it kind of sucks because, you know, Mike's kind of heartbroken now. Now it's going to be interesting to see how Mike is going to deal with this going forward. But he's not the only one left out and left alone. Hopper, you know, is waiting for Joyce to show up, and she never does, because she's, you know, out doing her own thing, trying to figure out what's going on. And you know, while that's happening, you know, Dustin, Steve, and Robin have figured out what the message was saying on the radio, and it's kind of like, I guess, code words or something like that, or something like that. I don't know, but it's really interesting to see them have their own little adventures. It's not just the typical like Mike and everybody, but they're definitely treading down some dark ass roads with this season, especially with Billy's character. He ends up kidnapping one of the lifeguard chicks, and like feeding it to this monster. Like, this shit was I really want to see what else this season has in store. But that's all I got for this episode review. I'll check y'all out for my episode 3 review coming up very shortly. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode, and I hope y'all like it, comment, subscribe, and I'll check y'all out in the next video.
When I was young, I thought that success was all I needed. That's what was going to bring the happiness. Buying my mom a house, being the fame, the accolades, having people say, yo, you are the best in the game. I thought those would be the things that would bring happiness. And then when those things came, the happiness wasn't there. And I realized why that was. There was such an attempt to achieve these things and to keep going that you lose sight of the people and the blessings that you have around.